Welcome, everybody, to another brand new episode of It's My Wrestling Podcast. I am, as always, your host, Chris Dees. Please, before I get started, please make sure you hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, hit follow wherever you're listening on audio platforms. Today's guest is a man I'm always very happy to have on the show. This is his third appearance now. If you're not familiar with him, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but he is the currently 1/3 of the Ring of Honor three-man tag team champions, had one of the greatest Ring of Honor TV champion runs of all time. I think pretty much anybody who's watched Ring of Honor the last few years will agree with that. He's the CEO of Shane Taylor Promotions, good friend of the podcast. He's, of course, the one and only Mr. Shane Taylor. Shane, it's a pleasure as always, man. How's it going?
It's going fantastic, man. Hell of an introduction. You love to start it off like that. Thank you for having me.
No, man, like I say, always a pleasure to have you. As I said, third time that you've been on, it's always fun chatting to you. It's just a shame that we're talking under such shitty circumstances, isn't it? Obviously, this has been a really bad, horrible couple of weeks. I spoke to Ron the other day, Rev Ron. Spoke to Silas Young. I've had a few Ring of Honor guys on in the last couple of weeks since, obviously, the horrible news of the hiatus, the possible end of Ring of Honor. Have you had time for it to all sink in? Like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? How are you like bouncing back?
I'm feeling fine. In moments like these, I tend to be someone that gets very excited. I know that sounds weird, but I am someone who sort of enjoys chaos, enjoys that feeling of not knowing what's going to happen, enjoying that feeling of finding that next thing. You know what I mean? That survivalist sort of mentality I've had my whole life sort of kicks in, and I feel like I'm right at home. Because growing up, you never knew what was going to happen. You didn't know if you lived through the day. You know what I mean? So none of this comes as a shock. None of this comes as a surprise. None of this is something that I didn't already see coming. So this is simply just par for the course. You know what I mean? This is me and the guys with what we've been doing, with the success that we've garnered organically, damn near by ourselves. We were debating options anyway, right? So this sort of just kicks it into another gear. So it's okay.
Yeah. And when, like I said, Ron was on a few days ago and he said something pretty similar. Like, obviously, this is a shock, but it opens up so many doors, so many avenues for you guys to go. And, you know, you've been in Ring of Honor for, I think, about 7 or 8 years, like solidly the last 7 or 8 years. So at least this gives you a bit of an opportunity to sort of spread your wings. And I've seen lots of stuff on social media where you've been tagging people, other people have been tagging you, saying you should go here, you should go there. You could go literally anywhere, man. And like I say, you guys would just fit in nicely, as whether it's just you, whether it's you and Ron, whether it's the whole of STP, all 5 of you, wherever you go, you are going to be such an asset to whatever company. Have you had any sort of interactions or any conversations with any other promotions yet, or are you just sort of just playing the long game and seeing what happens?
We've had talks with a few places, but I think right now the best thing to do is just sort of sit tight.
Yeah.
With the influx of talent coming in from everywhere, there's going to be a lot of people all jumping somewhere at once. And I've never been a reactionary person, right? I've always been a very calculated, a very detailed, very planned person. So we're going to wait until it's most beneficial for us, until something comes that that we all can look at and go, okay, this is the right move. We're going to wait till then. You know, we're going to enjoy the holiday season. You know, you've obviously got Thanksgiving, Christmas. We're going to enjoy that. We're going to spend time with our families. We're going to do some projects in LA that we've set up. And we're just biding our time to make sure that when we do move, it's the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, like you say, like obviously this all happened with Ring of Honor. I can't remember what day of the week it was. I think it was like a Monday or Tuesday, and then like
Right.
2 days later, WWE released like another 21 people. So it's just
Mhm.
everybody all at once. And like you say, now there's lots of competition. But as far as I'm concerned, this is good for it's good for every other promotion. I say this every time that there's loads of releases. Yeah, it sucks. You don't want to see anybody lose their job. It's always horrible. It's always a bit uncertain. It's always a shock. As a fan, it was a big shock for me what happened with Ring of
Right.
Honor. But my mind just went straight to like, imagine how much independent promotions or the NWA, the MLW, these kind of places are going to benefit from having all of you guys suddenly available, taking all of that experience that you've got, that TV
Mhm.
experience as well, that you can,
Mhm.
help rub off onto other talents. So it's you got to look at the bright side, haven't you? Every cloud has a silver lining.
Of course, you are now getting world-class talent that is able to come in, help lead locker rooms, help coach young guys, help your veterans. Um, it's I mean, it's just awesome to see. You have, I mean, like already we saw the OGK, Taven and Bennett in the NWA, which is dope. You know what I mean? You're going to be able to see two world-class guys right off the bat go in and completely help change the landscape of a locker room. Um, the amount of matchups there is going to be very exciting. You look at a place like MLW, and some of the matchups that you could potentially have for us there would be incredible. You know what I mean? A place that loves factions, enjoys faction warfare, and then you look at stuff individually. Imagine, O'Shea versus Hammerstone or myself versus Fatu. Like the possibilities are endless. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
You look at all of these things, and there's just so many dope options. And then, of course, you know what I mean? You look at a place like an AEW, and you have one group that's basically running unopposed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of controlling everything, putting out posts saying they're the best three-man team in the world. Looking at this, holding the Ring of Honor World six-man titles that say we're the best six-man team in the world. We're the best trio in the world. Sounds to me like somebody's lying. You know what I mean? So at any point in time, you know what I mean, when the EVPs decide they actually want to challenge, they know who to call.
STP versus the Elite. Yeah. Yes, please. Yes, please. Tony Khan, make it happen. Whoever needs to make it happen, man. Another name, Jay Lethal as well. He's like literally in the last few days seen him go to AEW, haven't we? Like in the last week, that was a shock for me. Great move for him. Great move for AEW. How about Keith? I've got to ask Keith Lee, your old tag team partner. I'm always shocked when WWE release anybody, even on the mid card, and you think, oh, what a waste, what a waste. Man,
Right.
Keith Lee made me angry. What was your reaction as a good friend of Keith? Have you spoken to him since this all happened?
I've spoken to him. We've talked. Keith is going to be just fine. He is. I'm sure very excited about the future. A motivated Keith Lee with a chip on his shoulder is good for any wrestling fan, right? And he's got, of course, his marriage, his wedding to think about this February, which I will be at. Mia Yim, so congratulations to the both of them. He will be okay. He's going to put all of his dogs in a row and is going to figure out something extraordinary for the sport, as he always does. My reaction when I saw it, again, it's was a little surprising, but not completely unforeseen, right? If you look, okay, this happened, and then this happened, and then there was like the legal battle, you know what I mean? And then so it was just knowing the environment there the way that I do.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that could be a thing. You know what I mean? Didn't think like, probably not, but it could be. You know what I mean? So the fact that it was like, oh, all right, well, okay. You know what I mean? And now you have given back to the rest of professional wrestling this, 6'3", 350-pound monster of charisma that can fly all over the place. Okay. If you don't like making money, just say that. You know what I mean? Like that's fine. You know what I mean? But he's, wherever he goes, he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, man, he's a star. I've seen him at a local show in Coventry in UK. It was before I'd even heard of him. He wasn't even advertised for the show. I think he replaced somebody else that was meant. I think it was with Pete Dunne, actually. That was my first ever exposure to Keith Lee, and I was hooked. So, like I say, man, whoever picks him up, or even if he doesn't get picked up, even if he just does tours and goes all over the place, man, it's going to be good for him. It's going to be good for wrestling. I'm excited to see what Keith Lee does. But anyway, enough about Keith Lee, enough about other people. I want to ask about STP because, like I said, you've been on the show 3 times. I've had all of STP on the show at least twice, Ron 3 times as well. For anybody who, for some reason, still doesn't know about STP, what was it about those 4 guys that inspired you to get STP going? I know the story, but what for other people, for new viewers, for new listeners, why did you bring those guys together, and what was the goal for you?
Hard work, dedication, and vision. With any good team, synergy is important. Having everyone on the same page, having the ability for everyone to want the same things, see the same goals, is crucial. And while we are all, 5 different individuals, the way we think, our goals in this sport damn near line up identically, right? You're talking about 5 individuals who've watched wrestling since they were knee high to a duck. You know what I mean? So seeing opportunities for African-American males especially be very limited. You're limited to certain ways of expressing yourself. You're limited to certain characters. You're limited to who you can truly be. And that's gotten a lot better over the years, but there's still a long way to go. And everyone I talk to, whether it be Khan, Moses, O'Shea, Ron, when we talked about wrestling, then one of the first things they said was, I want to be able to change that. I want to be able to not only inspire everyone and be a sense of pride and hope, and and have people enjoy what we do from every background, but especially for our peers, especially for those young Black kids, to be able to turn on their TV screen, see people that look like them, see people being proud to look like them, not making themselves less threatening because it makes other people feel comfortable, not dumbing down their intelligence because it makes other people feel comfortable, not leaning into the 0.01% stereotype that a lot of media, music, and TV promotes as Black culture, because we are so much more than that. We have, when you look at the history, when you look at the inventors, when you look at the soldiers, when you look at everything that we've accomplished, our culture is more than what they show you on TV, more than what the mainstream tries to market. And we're in a world in professional wrestling that we can it's like grown up make believe. It's like we can literally be anything we want, and if you promote the right way, you can be a star, right? So we have all of these things at our fingertips, and only using people in 5 different character ways, to me, never made sense. So we are out to make sure we change that. We are out to make sure that when people turn on their screens and they see STP, that they see individuals who are very proud to be themselves, who are very proud of their culture, who are very unapologetic about that, will not shuck and jive for people. We will not lessen ourselves to make anybody else feel comfortable. We are as dangerous as we say we are. We are as intelligent as we say we are. And if that makes you nervous, then that's a you kind of problem.
Good. If it makes you nervous, then good.
Right.
But no, like that, you make a very good point about the representation, because like if I think back even just over my time as a wrestling fan, I don't really know that much before or like the early 80s, but thinking back, you had like the Nation of Domination. That was pretty much it. And then there wasn't really too much representation other than those guys. And then a little bit later, you ended up going, obviously, like really recently, you got yourselves and the Hurt Business, New Day a few years before. There's been sporadic little bits of representation here and there, but there's never been anything even close to as consistent as we've got today, because you've also got names like, off the top of my head, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, Carmelo Hayes, obviously, like I say, you guys, Kenny King, Apollo, Damian Priest, so not even necessarily African Americans, but, all those other ethnicities. You've got lots of Japanese champions. Moose is out there as well. Bandido, Roxy, another great talent. Are you, obviously, you're never going to be completely happy with where representation is at until it's absolutely everywhere. But are you happier with where we are now with representation? What more would you like to see change? Because I tell you what my concern is. Obviously, I'm very much from the outside looking in. This isn't something that's ever affected me in my life, obviously, as a young white guy. But it always seems to be that when Black History Month rolls around, as mostly a WWE fan, I'll be honest, I watch a bit of everything, but I am primarily a WWE fan. It's what I was raised on. When Black History Month rolled around, you always just so happen to find yourself getting a new Black champion, a new African-American champion. It was just always very coincidental timing. I remember R-Truth, Lashley both won, I think it was the IC title and the US title around about the month of Black History Month, and that always didn't really sit right with me. So I can't imagine what it would have sat like with somebody from your community, from your, you know what I mean? So do you ever worry that maybe somewhere like WWE are just doing it not for the sake of it? That's the wrong way to word it, but you know what I mean? Like they almost do it to say, look at us, look what we're doing.
Anytime something like that happens, it's a very sort of 50-50 feeling, right? And it's just human, right? Like you're excited that they won the title. You're excited that means that they're going to get that primetime spot, or hopefully there's going to be something more done. But you also have to be, very wary in the back of your mind that this is a business that's going to cause clicks. It's going to get views. It's going to be celebrated as history, and rightfully so. So I think with any business, when that becomes the sort of status quo, like, hey, it's around that time of year again. Who do we have to, it's good and bad. So that's the best way to describe that. We're always happy to see it, but there is that sort of like thought in the back of your head, like, just doing this because it's Black History Month. You know what I mean? Like, so, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? And as far as progress goes, we've done a tremendous job, right? And it's fantastic to see such a wide array of representation, like you mentioned, but especially when it comes to us, you have so many people doing just about every gamut of character there is. You've got, if we're just talking WWE, right? You've got Naomi, you've got Sasha, you've got Bianca, who's just an incredible athlete. You've got Street Profits, Carmelo Hayes, you mentioned him. I want to say his tag team partner, Trick Williams is his name.
Yeah.
All right. And then, of course, you've got the Hurt Business, who walk out there suit and tie every day, go to work, beat people's asses, go home. We can respect that, you know. And you've got the New Day, right, who are able to hit that comic book, video game nerd genre that so many Black people are a part of, but tend to be overlooked in. You know what I mean? When it comes to that scene, to the anime, Comic-Con, cosplay type scene, there are so many people from our culture that still feel out of place, although they love it, right? So to be able to have, you know, your representation there too is absolutely dope. You know what I mean? So, and that's what I mean when I talk about we're able to be everything, you know, we're able to be everything, do everything, just like our counterparts do. What I want to avoid is this feeling like a fad. I want this to be a sustained movement that only gets bigger, only grows better. And I just did an article, or I just did an interview, and WrestleZone picked up the article. And one of the first comments that I saw was, how long is this going to go on? And when does it get back to normal? Right. And immediately I just felt this like sickness. And I was like, this is exactly why I say what I say. This is exactly why I do what I do, because people don't hear what you say as what you say. They hear it as however it makes them feel. Right. Yeah. And so I was like, the fact that you think, or the fact that you believe that this can be something that can just go away is the point. Right? It's literally the point. Like, this shouldn't be something that people go, oh, okay, we gave you this for a while. Now it's our turn to just take it away. No, this should be a sustained thing. Any marketable sport across the country, any major sport platform, you have African-American talent that are pushing that forward, whether it be the NBA, the NFL, what have you, right? In movies, in media, in music, we drive that culture forward. Wrestling is the only one where that isn't the case. And it's because it's the only one really determined by someone else's opinion, right? And when all of the opinion and all of the power is already held by a group, it's very hard to transition that, right? Or make that, you know, or change that balance of power. But in reality, it's simply the case that we want to be able to have the same success that our counterparts have, without having to, you know, really fight, you know, 5 times, 10 times as hard for the same opportunities. All this stuff should be seen as commonplace. It's going to be, when it's no longer special, that's when the job will be done.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah. So you can imagine, you know, to be able to have young white kids, young Hispanic kids, young Black kids all see someone like themselves be successful, have it be commonplace is the goal. And not only in ring, but out of the ring, in ownership spots, in marketing, in booking, in every facet of the game. We want to see that grow, because it only makes sense. It only makes sense to me, right? There was another comment that's like, oh, you're basically just saying no, white people can't help build Black characters. And I was like, when did I say that? Like, you sound like an idiot, right? I said, it's very hard for someone who hasn't experienced what you have, that doesn't come from where you come from, tell you how to be you. Yeah. And market to you how to be you. Like, for example, I could have 10 sisters, right? that doesn't mean I can tell a female character how to be her.
Yeah.
I'm not a woman. You know what I mean? Like I can't tell you how to do this. I can give you ideas, but I can't tell you how to be you. I can't market you as you because I don't have that experience, right? So somebody who's lived in Connecticut their whole life, just to use the example, right? Can't tell a Black person from Atlanta how to be a Black person from Atlanta. You can't. You literally don't know what it's like. You know what I mean? It only makes sense to be able to have people that can relate to the culture, that have been through those experiences, good and bad, know the highs, know the lows, know the joys, know the traumas, to be able to bring out all aspects of your talent and understand as well that just because you're Black, that's not going to be it, right? Because the culture is different everywhere. It's different in Atlanta, it's different in New York, it's different in Florida, it's different in Cali, it's different in Cleveland. Like, to be able to have more people in the creative roles, in the ownership roles, in those marketing meetings, to be able to find those little details for people to latch onto, that is what creates your stars. Having those intangible things is what makes people tune in every single week and go, that's the person that I want to hate, or that's the person that I want to cheer for, that's the person that I love. And taking that time to develop that is going to give you lasting stars.
Yeah, and a good example I can think of would be, probably best example is with women's wrestling in general at the minute. Look at what Impact have done since Gail Kim got involved backstage with the booking, right, and helping them. Right. Maria, obviously, in Ring of Honor. Who else? There was another one I was thinking of as well. Mickey James in NWA, and then they went on NWA Empower, and it was one of the best things that's happened all year. Like, you're right. Once you get people who've been through it, because I couldn't tell you how to be Shane Taylor, I couldn't tell New Day how to be New Day, you know, and likewise they couldn't tell me how to be me. But right. No, you're absolutely spot on. You make so many good points. I just can't think off the top of my head. I don't think, unless you know of any in Ring of Honor maybe, but I can't think of any well-known African-American Black ex-wrestlers who are working in those positions in backstage roles. I don't think there are any. Jason Jordan, actually.
I think maybe Jason Jordan, maybe Devon Dudley right now.
Devon, yeah.
I think D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry as well have those roles at Impact and AEW respectively. And I don't know what all those roles entail, but I definitely know that they are behind the scenes helping as much as they can. And so shout out to them and respect to them. But yeah, the fact that we can probably name them on one hand kind of proves my point. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I had to really think about it. I had to really push myself.
Right. And that's this thing though too. There's this mindset. Like I saw a comment that says, okay, so this is just basically affirmative action for wrestling. It's like, nobody's saying just throw people in this spot that don't have the credentials to do it. We're saying the people that have the credentials to do it should get an opportunity to. Yeah. That's literally it. You know what I mean? In a sport that's controlled, you should be able to get people and have people who have busted their asses for decades and have learned so many nuances and details of this sport and have such creativity, right? You're talking about people who have to compete with everyone in the world and maintain their spot for decades, being constantly evolving, creating. You don't think they deserve a spot in your creative roles? Who else is going to do it, right? Almost kind of like you should have former players be coaches, right? Like, it only makes sense that they're going to be able to teach you little tricks of the trade that maybe took them 10 years to learn, but you can learn in your first year. That's only going to progress you. It's only going to progress the sport. And to me, it makes perfect sense. But again, when you're dealing with social media, people don't often hear what you say. They hear how whatever you said made them feel. And then it's a whole different argument.
Yeah. Yeah. Social media can be great, but it can also be so.
I hate it. I hate it. Like I love it for it, you know, for it to be able to bring people together, but the amount of people that you run into that you realize, wow, you're really dumb. You know what I mean? Like it's staggering.
Yeah, literally like 2 hours ago, somebody called me a smart because I have a podcast, and I just thought, why? Why does that make me a smart? I don't even know what we were talking about. I think we were talking about AEW, but like, what about that makes me a smart mark or whatever? I'm interviewing wrestlers who I like. People, that's what bugged me about social media. People think they know what all these buzzwords mean, like burial, smart, mark, worker, all these kind of words, and it's given people this deluded sense of, I don't know, like it's like backstage knowledge or something. You know what I mean?
It's the same thing with rap, right? It's the same thing. People hear a few slang words and all of a sudden they're down. It's like, no, you're not. Just enjoy the music and just relax. You know what I mean? Same thing with wrestling. Just enjoy what you're watching and chill. Just relax, you know? And again, I try to let people know as best I can. And it's like, look, man, so many people in this social media era, especially through the pandemic and all of that, have gotten so comfortable just saying whatever they want to people. And it's like, understand, man, like there are people in this world who don't live on social media. Consequences still exist. Consequences for your words, consequences for your actions still exist. Do not get comfortable just saying whatever you want to people, because eventually you're going to do that in real life. You're going to come across someone who doesn't care about your well-being. You know what I mean? And it's not going to go well. So relax. Shutting up is free. It always is, always has been, always will be.
Stop trying to tell people what they can and can't enjoy. Like, I think I was literally just talking about Brian Danielson, and how much I'm enjoying him being in AEW. That was literally it. Harmless, no like arguing, no telling people they were wrong or anything like that. And just guy just got lost, came into the conversation and made himself look like an idiot. But that's this day and age for you. Anyway, right, let's move away from that. I want to touch back on your time in Ring of Honor. Obviously, as I said earlier on, you've been there for, I think it's about 7 or 8 years, maybe just about coming up to 8 years, I think, early next year.
About 7, yeah. Yeah,
about 7 years. You've accomplished quite a lot in that time. Obviously, you've been, as I said earlier, current 1/3 of the 3-man tag champs, alongside SOS. You had that amazing Ring of Honor TV title run. Obviously, what you've done with STP, bringing those guys together and just tearing the place apart and dominating. I know it's probably hard, and I've probably mentioned a few of them already, but in those 7 years, what have been some of your main highlights? Like, if this was all to end tomorrow, which obviously, you know me, you've been on the show enough times, you know I love Ring of Honor. I hope when April comes back around, everything's fine, and I hope all of you guys are back in Ring of Honor. But if things were to just end at the end of this year, would you hold any resentment, any frustration at all that you didn't get a run with the World Championship?
There'd be no resentment. There'd be frustration only because I'm someone who likes to accomplish the goals that I set out for myself. So that would simply be a goal that didn't get accomplished. And I had this feeling when the match with ROH happened, I felt like this is the moment, right? This is the time. But it is what it is, you know. But as far as my highlights from there, even though I had the dope TV title run, again, that was just all organic and based off of what I was doing creatively. I would put the run that we're on with these 6-man titles ahead of that, only because I get to bring my guys with me on the ride. You know what I mean? have helped write their name in that history. They get to go down in the history books as, part of the greatest six-man team ever in the history of Ring of Honor. So to be able to bring them with me and have them see that kind of success is everything. That's exactly why STP was created. I would point to my match with Jay Briscoe at Final Battle. To have someone of his legendary skill, caliber, to be able to stand across the ring from him, look me in the eye, shake my hand, and say, "You're the real deal." You know what I mean? For him, who's seen everything, seen everybody, seen so many people come in who weren't ready or were pretending to be, for him to look me in the eye and go, "You got it." You know what I mean? That stuff like that means the world. To have legends like Homicide pull me aside and tell me, "Hey, this is your time." You know what I mean? You're the leader. You know what I mean? This is your time to take the sport over. That means the world to me. So individual matches, probably obviously the series with Jeff Cobb, the match with Hangman Page, the match with Cody, any of the times that I'm in there with Kenny King or guys like the Foundation, all of those matches, you get to see different aspects of who I am, different aspects of STP. You get to see all of those things sort of come together and watch the history. So those would be my main highlights, and as well as the things that I've been able to do behind the scenes, as far as changing the culture of Ring of Honor to a place that is more open about talking about social issues, bringing those to the forefront, not just looking past them or ignoring them, but challenging them, being able to have the roundtable discussions, the Black History Month celebrations, all of these things that I didn't see prior to me being there. That is what I'm most happy about. And I think when people look back at it, they will have said not only was I able to perform to the standard of Ring of Honor, but I was able to help change it in my own way.
Yeah, 100%. No, I couldn't agree more, man. Like you say, individual matches are great to look back on and think, "Oh, I wrestled this guy. That was cool." Individual moments, storylines, segments, whatever. But if you were to stop wrestling tomorrow, that's a hell of a legacy, isn't it? To be trying to do something that changes the game, that changes the culture, that changes the feel of wrestling. It's so important. And like I say, it's not something I've ever really been exposed to as a young white guy. It's always just been normal to me, unfortunately, and it should never have been normal. But to see someone like you, someone who I respect and so many people respect, putting so much effort alongside your brothers in STP to change the game, it's inspiring to see. It really is. I'm not just saying that because you're here. Like I talk about STP pretty regularly, like in group chats and stuff like that. And like I say, it's a beautiful thing to see. So if that's your legacy, or what you'd like your legacy to be, as I said before, I don't want Ring of Honor to end now, but if it was to do, what would you say would be the lasting legacy of Ring of Honor? Because you've named some amazing names there, like Cody, the Bucks, Cole, off the top of my head, Steen, El Generico. So many top amazing talents have come through Ring of Honor that are taking top spots all across the industry in different promotions. If for me, if it wasn't for Ring of Honor, you wouldn't have a lot of the main event talent that we've got now. So, I mean, I assume you feel the same way. I think pretty much everyone does. Ron said a similar thing. But what for you would be the lasting legacy of Ring of Honor?
I mean, I think you just nailed it, right? It has been the most influential company over the last 20 years, not only as far as innovating wrestling style, but as far as producing an absolutely insane amount of talent. Like, there's a whole company based off of Ring of Honor talent. You know what I mean? And you look at just about every major company right now, and some of your top guys, if not a good 40% of maybe your top guys on your roster, have Ring of Honor ties. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think when you look at it from that aspect, it very much it very much cements the legacy of everything that everybody's done that's walked through those doors. You know, it'd actually be very interesting if to see what happens come April. You know, you've got a lot of people who have those ties. It could be something dope to see all of them come together, put their money together, and sort of maybe buy it out, or see what they can do with their own vision of running it. You know what I mean? Kind of like how LeBron said he wanted to own a team. You know what I mean? Just think how dope it would be for LeBron to come back and own the Cavs. You know what I mean? To help lead them to a championship and then own the team. You know what I mean? So like maybe something to that effect. Because I think the company itself has been, and the spirit of it is far too important to just let go away. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's going to be the legacy, is that it has been one of the most influential, if not the most influential companies in the last 2 decades.
Yeah. Not nearly enough people give Ring of Honor even close to as much credit as it deserves. Like you say, man, if it wasn't for Ring of Honor, you wouldn't have half the names that we see on TV now. It's amazing. Shane, man, thank you for joining me again. It's literally always a pleasure. I really enjoy hearing your thoughts on things, your perspective on things. I know you're doing some shows at the moment, aren't you? And you guys are still defending the 3-man tag titles. So before I let you go, like, where can people find you at the minute? What shows have you got coming up? What are you planning to do maybe like early 2022?
We will be in Pittsburgh this weekend at WrestlePit. You'll be able to get all the flyers, all of the information off of my social medias. That's at Shane216 Taylor on Twitter and Instagram. We come back from that. We're at WrestleCade, November 26th to the 28th in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Again, all of the information for that will be on the social medias as well. We then have, and we are getting ready for Final Battle, December 11th in Baltimore. It's already been announced, myself versus Kenny King. And to be honest, if the doors are closing, there's no better match to have, you know what I mean, than have it be against Kenny. You know, it's very much this Wyatt Earp versus Doc Holliday, OK Corral type feeling. You know what I mean? That I think both of us are walking in this going, ain't nobody going home. You know what I mean? So that takes a lot of the fear, nervousness, and anxiety out of it. Personally, I believe this is main event level stuff. And that's what I want. I want the vision of what we do to be the last thing that people see as far as what represents Ring of Honor. And then me and the guys are going to head to LA after Final Battle. And we're going to work on a project there. And so we're going to have a lot of fun doing that. Something that I'm very excited about. Working with some legendary people there outside of the wrestling world. So that's going to be a fun thing and a fun project to show when we get that done.
Yeah, I asked Ron about that. He wouldn't give me any teasers. He wouldn't give me any information on it.
Can't, man. Can't.
Fair enough, man. No, I'm looking forward to that. I really am. Shane, like I said, man, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me again on the show. It's always a pleasure, always a blast. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Like I said at the very start, if you enjoy what I'm doing, please hit subscribe on YouTube. Please hit follow on audio platforms. I'm going to put everything in the about section for everything that's coming up for Shane, everything that's coming up for STP. So you can easily check that out just by clicking the links. And yeah, thank you. And I hope to see you again next time on It's My Wrestling Podcast.